If I had $1 for every time someone said to me, I haven't been able to do anything with my horse because the weather's too bad, I'm like, but are you feeding your horse? Are you leading your horse in from the pasture? Are you handling your horse at all? Because if you are, you're training your horse. So I always think about putting things to a purpose. When it's winter time, it is a great opportunity to build, more deposits in the emotional bank. You can hang out with the horses a lot, but there's also so much you can do. Even if you're just bringing your horse into the barn, you can work on, hey, how well can I yield the rib cage? Can I do an air gap backup? What if I just hover my hand with intention above my horse's pole? Will they drop their head? How about I might just tip my horse's hip across and ask them to back up into the stable? There's so many things you can do in bad weather. And I mean, Callie, you're great at this. I know you used to do a lot of stuff in the breezeway of your barn. You were always doing something.
We used to come in with a plow and push the snow out of like a 20-meter circle in the outdoor arena. This was before we had our indoor. So we would push that out and then it would create this huge mound and we would have just a little space to work in there. So I could not agree more, Andrea. There's always something that you can do, whether it's that it's too cold to ride, whether it's too muddy. If you look for the space that you have available, and maybe that's just a turn-in or a turnout shed out in the field. Maybe it's the breezeway. As you mentioned, I used to do in hand work with my horses, and this was a 4-stall barn, so it wasn't some big fancy breezeway. It was small, but it was just large enough that we could walk down, we could turn around at one end, and we could come back. So we could work on some really simple yields, work on relaxing the horse's jaw, work on those basic responses to the bit. If you have a horse that gets braced at all with the bit and bridle, just spending time to change that response to when you take bit contact, that they soften. Or the same with a bitless bridle. If you're riding with a bitless bridle, there's so much that can be done without even, if you're somewhere where your horse wears a blanket, without even pulling the blanket off.
Yeah, absolutely. There is truthfully as much you can do in winter as you can do any other time of the year. And also I find it's a great time for body work. We both love the Masterson method with our horses, or work that Linda Tellington Jones does, T-touch. If it's a foul weather day and you've brought the horses in to maybe do their feet and feed, do some body work. You're putting in fabulous emotional deposits with the horse. There's just so much you can do. So don't let weather stop you. Because then come spring, you're going to have a very fresh horse. You feel like you're starting again. So use this cold weather. How well can I yield? How well can I connect with my horse? Can I ask my horse to walk in with me, stop when I stop, go when I go? Don't give up just because the weather's bad.
I'm curious, Sandra, what is the most extreme weather that you have still gone out and ridden in?
It was in Costa Rica when we had had some horses get out of the pastures and we had to go and find them. And when I say like tropical rain just hits at a whole different level. It's literally like having a tap opened on your head, or a fire hose, actually. And we went out in that to find these horses and get them back to safety. And it was raining so hard that the rain must have filled a termite nest that was hanging from a tree, and the termite nest fell from the tree and exploded on my head. Yeah, it was crazy. And the horse did not spook. He was called Bihagual, such a fantastic horse. He's passed away now from old age, but yeah, he was wonderful. And he just kind of looked, gave me the side eye, like, oh, we've got a job to do, let's go. And I'm just like covered in termites, which got washed off anyway because it was raining so hard. So yeah, some pretty extreme weather in here in Cornwall, being caught out sometimes in the storms that come in, that before we had all the weather apps where now the weather every 5 minutes. Back then you just go, whoa, that sky's looking a bit dark. And when we were kids, you'd be like 4 or 5 hours from home. and the weather would turn and you just hunker down and keep riding and get yourself home. But I mean, I don't do those sorts of things so much now. I'm more, if the weather's extreme, I'm still with the horses, but maybe not riding. What
Yes.
about you?
Cold. So we used to
Yeah.
get some really big snows here in Pennsylvania, and I remember it was one of my favorites to go out, especially those snows where it would drift. So depending on kind of the lay of the land or where the fence was, the snow would sometimes drift up to like 3, 4 feet. And it was so fun to be out riding and to be cantering across one of these fields, and then you would hit a drift, and it would feel like those first few strides where the horse was just going in slow motion, going through the snowdrift.
Wow.
And the horses always seemed to really enjoy going out in fresh snow too. It was fresh. The horses would be quite fresh. So that was some really fun memories. But it created a good time when we would come back after the horses had gotten out. If we decided that we were gonna, brave the cold and go out, when we would come back, it was just as you said, an excellent time for body work, especially because they would be
Yeah.
warm. They would have had
Mm.
the chance to move. If they had been, say, stalled the night before while it was snowing, getting out and getting that chance for movement was really important for them. And then we could do some really nice work, and they would really relax. I think that's with cold specifically, it's one of the challenges that I used to have is that the horses will be tense in cold. And
Mm.
what that's why I liked the barn aisle, because we would get out and we would just walk first. I wouldn't go out and right away ask for something. We would just go out, walk, 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 and then be able to start, asking for more of the yields, doing the body work, as you said, when they were just a little bit warmer in their bodies.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's important that they are warm. You can actually cause quite a lot of damage if you stretch too much when horses are cold. So after a hike with them, because I love to hike with my horses, that's something that I'll do sometimes if the footing's a bit iffy. I will hike with them. That gets them warmed up beautifully as well. But yeah, don't let cold weather stop you. Just make sure if you're going to do body work that the horses are warmed up. Obviously, make sure that you're safe, but even if you don't like going out in the weather, there's stuff you can do in the barn for sure.
Yeah. Well, whatever your cold weather challenge is, whether it is mud, whether it's rain and falling termite nests, whether it is whether it's snow and cold, the seasons change. I know for many of us, as we're recording right now, we're just on the cusp of spring. So
Yeah,
hang in there, make the
coming.
most of the time that you have so that when those sunny days come around, you and your horse are ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're looking for ideas of ways you can be with your horse or exercises that you might need to do, we have so many resources on the horse class website. So go on there and check it out. And as always, if you have any things you want to talk over with me with your horse, or you're a little bit stuck, you can click on my Calendly link and book a free, no obligation call with me where we can talk things over about you and your horse. And I can tell you about different programs I have that might help you move past any blocks that you have. So, guys, get out there, do some things with your horses. Spring is coming. You've nearly made it. Hang in there that little bit longer, and we will see you all next week.